السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله.
إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا. من يهد الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له. وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلى الله عليه وسلم. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون. يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا. Indeed, all thanks is to Allah. We seek refuge in Him and we seek His forgiveness. We seek refuge in Allah from the evil of our own selves and the evil of our actions. For indeed, whomever Allah has guided, no one can misguide. And whoever Allah misguides, no one can guide. And I stand before you and I bear witness and I testify openly that there is no deity, there is no Lord, there is no Ilah except Allah Azza wa Jalla. And I stand before you and I testify openly that the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is the last and final messenger, O you who believe. Fear Allah. Be God conscious of Allah and do not die except in the state of Islam. Be God conscious of the Lord who created you from one soul, and from that soul many men and many women, and fear Allah, through whom you ask one another. Indeed, Allah is ever over you, an observer and a watcher. Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhu reports that the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, take advantage of 5 before 5. Your youth before your old age. Your health before you become ill. Your wealth before your poverty. Your free time before you become preoccupied. And your life before your death. A beautiful hadith that applies to every single one of us in some shape, way, or form. This hadith is not only an advice, but a reminder that everything that we have will come to an end. Everything that you have acquired, you have to return. So let us look closer at this hadith and its deep meaning. The Prophet Muhammad, he starts with the first advice, Shababika, your youth. A young person that is before he passes the age of 40. That there will come a time in your life that you cannot pray like you once did before. That you cannot worship Allah as much as you used to. That you cannot perform the same amount of ibadah that you used to. A special critical time. A time full of potential that can go in any which way it desires, be it halal or be it haram. And you see often that once a soul has reached its old age, it starts to naturally increase in ibadah. It starts to naturally lessen its disobedience and increase its obedience. Why? Because he or she realizes that death is near. But in reality, the angel of death is blind to age. It does not recognize whether you're 5 or whether you are 55. The angel of death can take you now, take you tomorrow, take you 10, 15, 20 years from now. Everyone with its appointed time. But to come to the realization at an early age that death can be tomorrow, it is admirable in the eyes of Allah. Because you realize this and you take advantage of the youth, the strength that you have at this particular moment in time, and you take advantage of it to increase in worship, to increase in ibadah, to increase in ta'ah. SubhanAllah, it's two completely different mindsets. When you think of the gift of youth as mine, or you think of the gift of youth as a gift, as something given to you that you later have to return. Because if you think of it as something that is borrowed, then it becomes like a tool that you must use quickly before it runs out. And so this is the first piece of advice that the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ gives us. The second piece of advice that we are told to take advantage of is your health before you fall sick. Simply put, if you are healthy and you don't have to take medicine every day, and you don't have to go to the doctor every week, and you pay minimum on your health insurance, then know that you have been given one of the greatest gifts, health. Health is, if not one of the most valuable assets that one can have in his or her life. And if you don't believe me, then ask any sick millionaire, because he will trade spots with you in an instant. The value of health is something very heavy that we often don't appreciate. But look at the mercy of Allah Jalla Jalaluhu, because in reality, the reality is that some of us, or all of us, we get sick. Where some of us, it's a temporary sickness, and others, it is a sickness till death. In either case, Allah's mercy is everlasting. Because we are told in Al-Bukhari, in the hadith, that the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ said that when a servant falls ill or travels, he gets a reward similar to that which he gets for the good deeds he usually performs when at home and in good health. Allahu Akbar. That you may, while in your health, increase in your ibadah, that you pray 5 times a day, that you pray the sunnah salahs, that you wake up for tahajjud al-qiyam, that you fast Mondays and Thursdays, that you do all of these extra voluntary actions. And then you may get sick for a week or two, may Allah give us good health, that Allah will reward you for the good deeds that you used to do in your good health, even though you lay sick in your bed. Which is why the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, he advises us to take care of our health before we become ill. The third piece of advice, or the third piece of advice that we are told to take advantage of, is your richness before your poverty, or your richness before you become poor. A very interesting phenomenon, because all of us, if not most of us, have experienced that one day we may be rich and the next day we become poor. That one day we have money in our pocket and the next day we don't. It's a very interesting topic because Allah Azza wa Jalla, He talks about it multiple times in the Quran. He says, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم, وَتُحِبُّونَ الْمَالَ حُبًّا جَمًّا, that you love wealth with immense love. You know, entitlement is a delusional belief to remove you from the reality of yourself. That you feel entitled to the money that's in your pocket. That you feel entitled to the money that you have earned. When in reality, who was it who gave you that wealth? Who was it that gave you that strength? Who was it that gave you the ability to go and work? Yet we feel entitled to the money that we own. We become stingy. And some of us have the audacity to hold on to our wealth, thinking that we can take it to our grave. But Allah Azza wa Jalla tells us, وَأَمَّا مَنْ بَخِلَ وَاسْتَغْنَى وَكَذَّبَ بِالْحُسْنَى فَسَنُيَسِّرُهُ لِلْعُسْرَى. But he who is stingy and thinks himself self-sufficient and denies the best reward, we will facilitate for them the path of hardship. Why be stingy for something that doesn't last? Why be stingy for something that we can't take to our grave? The Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, he tells us in a hadith very beautifully, verily, the money that you spend in charity is your money. And the money that you leave behind is the money of your inheritors. SubhanAllah. Ponder with me on this hadith, that a father or a caretaker may have a certain amount of wealth, but the angel of death comes and takes their soul, and that money is no longer theirs. Their assets are no longer theirs. It belongs now to their children, to their inheritors, for them to do that which they please. It creates a sense of urgency that I need to make this temporary dollar something that will be permanent and last forever. That I need to spend because the money that I have in my pocket isn't really my money. But the money that you spend in charity will be yours forever. And so by remembering our mortality, it becomes easier to let go. It becomes less hard to withhold. Now, as we know, actions are by intentions. And that doesn't mean that you have to pull every dollar out of your pocket and give it to a poor person. Rather, charity is even counted by feeding your own family, as the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ told us in the hadith, that you will be rewarded for whatever you spend in Allah's sake, even if it were a morsel which you put in your wife's mouth. Now, everybody, Muslim or non-Muslim, feeds their family, but who is rewarded for that? Rather, it is the person who is God conscious, who has his intention that he feeds his family for the sake of Allah. He gets the reward. He gets the reward of their charity. This is the mercy of the Almighty. And so by spending in the way of Allah, doesn't have to be necessarily a poor person, although that is great, but even spending on your own family is considered a charity. Let us not be stingy with our money, for it is truly a fitna. And let us not be stingy with our money, for it is truly a test. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم فاستغفروه إنه هو الغفور الرحيم. Bismillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala Rasulillah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Just a couple of quick announcements, inshallah. The summer camp program is from June 12th to August 3rd for the ages of 5 through 15, between Monday through Thursday. That will be from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. Also, if you would like to sign up or sign your kids up, you can sign up online. The second announcement is we have the weekday and weekend evening Quran classes are ongoing throughout the year. You can continue to register also online. And lastly, we have our adult Quran and Tajweed classes that are offered between 8:30 p.m. to 10 p.m. from Sunday to through Thursday if you are interested. Jazakumullahu khairan. The fourth piece of advice that we are told to take care or take advantage of is our free time before we become preoccupied, or before we become busy. You know, when it's said to you to spend your time wisely, that doesn't necessarily mean that you spend the time in ibadah, although that is very great and encouraged first and foremost. But spending your time wisely can also mean to not waste your time. There's a difference between doing good and not doing evil, although both are rewarded. So you can do your ibadah, you can spend your free time in ibadah, but it also, spending time wisely is also not wasting it. Now on social media platforms we have a feed where it feeds you random videos. Is it useless or is it useful? Allahu A'lam. But how many hours go by where we're scrolling endlessly, whether that's on Instagram, Facebook, or Twitter, videos of other people's lives, videos that don't have anything to do with us. Now your phone, it shows you the stats. How long have you spent on Facebook? How long have you spent on Instagram? How long have you spent on Twitter? Hours on end. watching other people's lives. Why? It is time, instead of watching other people's lives, that we come back to our own lives. That we wake up from a delusion that's not real. For something that we feel that we're missing out on when we're really not. This time is something that we will be asked about. A very important asset that we all have. You will be asked about every day, of every hour, of every minute, of every second. How did you spend your time? So take advantage of your time, because the clock is running out. The fifth and the last piece of advice that we're told to take advantage of is your life before your death. كل نفس ذائقة الموت. كل نفس ذائقة الموت. That every soul shall taste death. Every soul shall taste death. You know, subhanAllah, death is a beautiful thing, because it is said that if there's one thing in life that's certain, if there's one thing in life that's guaranteed, it's death. And therefore, death must become the compass in which we orient our values. What matters most to you? Because on your deathbed, are you going to care about it, or you're not going to care about it? Are you going to care about how much money is in your bank account, or what your boss said to you, or what she said behind your back? None of it matters. It becomes the compass by which we orient our values. Use your wealth wisely, because you're going to die. Use your youth wisely, because you're going to die. Use your free time wisely, because you are going to die. Dying is not the beginning of the end. Rather, it is the end of the beginning. An afterlife where everyone will be called to account for what he or she did. There is not a single soul here that can escape death. Death will catch up to you, but it can be delayed. You'll be asking me, what do you mean by delayed death? How can one delay death? And it is told to us in a hadith by Anas radiallahu anhu, that the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he said, من سره أن يبسط له في رزقه أو ينسأ له في أثره فليصل رحمه. That he who desires ample provision and his life to be prolonged should maintain good ties with his blood relations. That if you want to delay death, if you want to prolong your life, then it's time to pick up the phone. Call that aunt or uncle or relative that you haven't talked to in years and say, Assalamu alaikum. Not for their sake, but for yours, so that you can benefit. Not so that they can benefit, so that you can benefit. Because it is immediately at death where the veil of the unseen is revealed. And the one who is dying will see the truth and may become regretful. He may become regretful over what he or she did in his or her life. And Allah Jalla Jalaluhu describes this moment. And He says, بعد بالله من الشيطان الرجيم حتى إذا جاء أحدهم الموت قال رب ارجعون. Until when death comes to one of them, he says, my Lord, send me back, so that I may do good in which I have left behind. And Allah will say, it will be said to them, كَلَّا إِنَّهَا كَلِمَةٌ هُوَ قَائِلُهَا وَمِنْ وَرَائِهِمْ بَرْزَخٌ إِلَى يَوْمِ يُبْعَثُونَ. No, it is only an appeal that they make, and there is a barrier behind them until the day they are resurrected. My dear brothers and sisters, this is a reality, and we need to wake up. It's time to wake up. We need to prepare, because it's not coming back. You get one chance. This dunya, this test, this life. We need to prepare before it's too late. And we need to prepare when we still have a chance. We ask Allah Azza wa Jalla to make us amongst those who can take advantage of 5 before 5. To bless us with youth, health, wealth, free time, and a prolonged life. Allahumma ameen. Ibadallah. Inna Allah yamuru bil 'adli wal ihsani wa ita'i dhil qurba wa yanha 'anil fahsha'i wal munkari wal baghi ya'idukum la'allakum tadhakkarun. Fadhkuru Allah 'azim yadhkurkum washkuruhu yazidkum واستغفروه يغفر لكم واتقوه يجعل لكم من امركم مخرجا واقيموا الصلاه